Okay, so we should be muted, so hopefully this cuts down on some of the reverberation that we tend to get on these calls. I know people call in from different areas, so sometimes you might be in an area where you can't mute your phone, but if you can mute it, it's *6 to mute and unmute. So we'll go ahead and get started. Hopefully you can see our webinar. If not, we're just going to walk through a few things. This morning we have two presenters with us that are going to talk about some exciting programs in the new year, and Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome to 2015. I don't know where the years are going. It's crazy. I hope everyone had an enjoyable holiday, and I'm excited to talk about what we have in store for women veterans and with Calvet and veterans overall in the year of 2015. So as an overview, I'm going to give a little bit of an update about Calvet and what we're doing. We did talk about this more in our December call, so if you missed our December call, I'll kind of recap a little bit about what we're going to do in 2015. Then we're going to hear from Bob Pratt, the president of Volunteers of America Los Angeles, about the Blue Butterflies Project, which is going to be a new housing facility for women veterans in a beautiful location in LA area, San Pedro area. And then we'll also hear from Christine Hess, Women Veterans Coordinator with National Veterans Foundation. She wears several hats, so she can talk about what she's been doing these last few months of 2014 and what we have in store for 2015 as well. Then we'll open it up for some Q&A. We can answer some phone calls via our chat window, and then people can also ask some questions to our presenters, to one another, or to me via our phone line as well. So for a few updates, what I'm showing right now in our webinar is a picture of our dress code closet. The dress code was the statewide clothing donation for women's professional clothing that we included with our conference in August this year. There is a group that's still looking to continue the dress code idea, which is giving free professional women's attire as well as makeovers and fashion advice to women. They're still looking to do this throughout the state. So if your organization is interested in helping to host this in 2015, please contact us at womenveterans@calvet.ca.gov, and we'd be happy to connect you with the dress code project so that you can hopefully host this for women in your area. We have released our Women Veterans Outreach Toolkit. This toolkit was something that my office produced, and we released it November 11th of this last year in 2014. And the purpose of the toolkit is to assist organizations in becoming culturally competent around serving women veterans. This toolkit has resources for further reading. It has a to-do list. It has action items and a lot of data and statistics about women veterans both nationally and in California. And the intention is that as an organization or an individual, you can use this toolkit, you can read through it, you can share it, and hopefully adopt the action items that will help you better serve our population of women veterans here in California. This toolkit is available for download via PDF from our website, calvet.ca.gov. If you select programs, select women veterans, and you can go right to the toolkit and download it and share it. We have a limited print run available. Right now we have about, I think, 200 copies or less still available that we're sending out to people. We may be able to do a second print run in the future, but for now it's mostly available via PDF. Some things we'll be working on for 2015. We are still conducting some annual events, which include Women's Military History Week. That's a celebration we put on here in Sacramento during the third week of March. The third week of March is designated by the governor as Women's Military History Week. There are a lot of activities going on throughout the state in celebration of women who serve during that time, and we will be sharing information about those activities as they become known to us. I'll be available to travel and attend several of those for keynote opportunities or for speaking or presenting opportunities. We can also get some of the Calvet outreach team out there, depending on the area where the activity can be held. So if you have events that you'd like someone from Calvet to table at or to speak at, or if you'd like a copy of the proclamation, then please contact my office at womenveterans@calvet.ca.gov, and we'll be happy to get you any of that. And then we'll also be putting out more information about the celebration here in Sacramento during that week. For the annual event, typically we do a women's conference every year, and that's usually in the fall. We are not doing a women's conference in 2015. Instead, we are doing an all-veterans conference, which will include activities, events, and speakers for both men and women who have served in the military. So we're really excited about this conference because it will be larger, it will have a larger breadth of services, and it will be open to men and women. We will still have a lot specifically for women there. We will have female keynote speakers. We will have tracks and services and topics just related to women. But our intention is that by providing an all-veterans conference to both men and women, that we actually get a bigger population of women to attend this conference. Because our typical attendance has been 300 to 250 women, we'd like to see more at the all-veterans conference, and I think we can do that. So the tentative plan is to see an all-veterans conference in the Orange County area in September. I don't have a great amount of details about this right now. We're still working on this at the department level, at the executive level, so we will hopefully have more details in the future very shortly, since we're at 9 months now, about where this will take place and what the specific dates are. We will be disseminating the outreach toolkit and talking more about that. We want to get that to as many organizations as possible in the coming weeks and months. We'll also be changing the way that we interact on social media. We're trying to reach a larger audience of women veterans. We have about 3,000, a little over 3,000 women veterans currently on our roster. I think that's a fantastic number of women who have signed up for our women veterans roster, but there are almost 180,000 of us here in the state of California, so we have a long way to go. So we're going to be changing the look of our web pages. We're going to be engaging more on social media and providing more relevant information to our women veterans here in California to ensure that we get more engagement and we can make sure we connect more women with benefits and services. And then we'll be attending as many outreach events as possible going forward. Now that I'm not on maternity leave and my son is a little bit older, I'm able to travel more. So I plan to travel a couple times a month to as many activities as possible. If you have somewhere where you'd like me to be or you'd like one of our staff to be, then once again, please send us an email and request as early as possible what it is you'd like us to do for you. So for 2015, we're really focusing on advocacy. We're looking at policies that need to support women, veterans more, and how we can basically close any gaps of services that may be available through legislation or through policy changes through the delivery of services at Calvet or elsewhere. So our big focuses are going to be continuing MST education. We are going to be working with the County Veteran Service Officers and Rape Crisis Centers to provide more cultural competency training to those organizations. We're also looking at better access to mental health support. This is in the form of the latest legislation passed, AB 2545, which gives MST survivors access to victims' compensation funding dollars for mental health treatment. So we're going to map that process out very shortly and make sure to work with survivors on that. We're also working diligently on the Prop 41 funds. That's the $600 million appropriated from our home loan program for the development of veterans housing. So we're making sure that women veterans are a population that's represented in the overall needs of the funding, and ensuring that the housing that's created is safe and stable and sensitive to the needs of women veterans and underserved populations. For healthcare, we're also going to be working with VA Northern California on a rural health outreach project. We're going to be surveying women who live in the area that's served by Northern California VA to assess what their needs are in their healthcare needs with VA MAISR, and figure out how we can better serve them. So we'll be working with MAISR to help get the surveys out, to provide recommendations and feedback to VA Northern California leadership about how they can better serve women in this area. And my hope is, and the hope of this team, is that this project can be replicated in other parts of the VA healthcare systems, so that we can hopefully see more of the needs met for women veterans. We all know that there's still quite a bit that needs to be done in the healthcare systems of VA to serve women veterans, and so we hope that this project can be a jumping off point for that. So that's it for the updates for Calvet. I see that there's been quite a bit of activity in our chat window, so I'll be answering those questions via chat while our next presenters give us some information. So at this time, I'd like to ask our first presenter, Bob Pratt, President for Volunteers of America, Los Angeles, to talk a little bit about the Blue Butterflies Project. So Bob, if you can unmute your phone by pressing *6, that will allow you to begin speaking. So perhaps it's not working. So let me try and unmute us and see if
Okay, yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
great.
I thought my phone went on the blink momentarily, but it was just me going on the blink.
Thank you so much.
As usual. Blue Butterfly is former Navy housing in San Pedro, which is in the harbor area of the city of Los Angeles. And it was conveyed to Volunteers of America some years ago. As might be expected, there were some environmental cleanup issues that had to be conducted before we could start renovations. But in any event, it was 76 units of townhouses, 2-bedroom each, originally constructed in 1990 by the Navy, so not terribly aged and in great shape. The setting is quite unique because it is in the city. It's accessible to public transportation, and yet it's a very idyllic setting, surrounded by a nature preserve for what is considered by entomologists the most threatened butterfly species in the world, which is the Palos Verdes blue butterfly. And that really lends to, while in the city, you might as well be in the country in terms of the setting. It's remarkably beautiful. There are views. It's up high, kind of on a plateau. You've got beautiful views across the LA basin to the mountains. For those of you that are familiar with the LA terrain, we started renovations about a year ago. The funding for the capital for all of the construction was from tax credits, 9% tax credits. So that provided all the funding for the construction, and it's really not construction, it's just renovation, fixing up units that were already in great shape, some of which had actually never been occupied, curiously. We finished the renovations at the end of November, and everything turned out to be very beautiful, and went through the city processes for approvals of the infrastructure, and now we're at the stage of approvals for the actual units themselves, and we expect to get the certificate of occupancy from the city in about 2 weeks. The next phase will be furnishings, and the furnishings are being done by a group of women designers from LA that are apparently all very prominent and very excited about doing this. So each unit is going to be furnished by a designer with both funding from the project itself, but also they're gathering donations and the like. So we expect that the units will be not only beautiful externally but internally as well. The key task for us now is recruitment, and the focus of recruitment that may not end up being exclusive, although we would like it to be, is head of household, single mom, veterans, and they can be from anywhere. This is permanent housing, so there won't be a limitation on how long the women and their children are able to stay. We didn't want to have any artificial deadline. It's the operations are supported by City of LA Housing Authority, Section 8 vouchers, and one of the challenges, and we don't know if we're going to have to get a waiver because we're really just kind of reaching out now in the recruitment phase, is HACLA's practice to require that the women have at least 2 children, and we don't know how much of a burden that's going to be. I think that, you know, our anticipation is that a lot of the women, the veteran population out there, and I guess we're sort of really implicitly targeting women suffering from military sexual trauma, might more likely have 1 child rather than 2. But we're going to see how that goes, and I hope that we can get some feedback during the Q&A period later on the call in terms of questions about, you know, in more detail about, you know, what the project is going to be providing and how it's going to be providing it, but also any and all assistance in terms of reaching out to women veterans. It tends to be a pretty isolated population. We will be working with the VA Long Beach Women's Clinic and the Women's Clinic at VA in West LA. But it is our sense that a lot of these women are very isolated. They tend not to approach the VA. And so the key task now is going to be identifying them. We anticipate first occupancy in late February, and then kind of rolling on from there. We don't actually, according to our agreement with the investors, the tax credit investors, we have the better part of the year to fill the units, but obviously the sooner the better, assuming that the need is there. We'll have on-site services. The total number of residential units for the women and their children, again, these are 2-bedroom townhouses, are 73. 2 units have been set aside for services and 1 unit set aside for a resident manager who will be live-in. The other aspect of services is that we expect that the children will be young, predominantly preschoolers, and Volunteers of America has the franchise for early Head Start and Head Start in that locale in the harbor area. Our main parenting and early Head Start and Head Start Center in San Pedro is about a half a mile away. And also all those services are available on site, so they can either be center-based or home-based, depending on the need and the preference of each of the moms for her children. We'll also have case management. We have a network of DOL, SAMHSA, and VA-funded projects for veterans related to employment and other services, including focusing on victims of domestic violence, which again I think a lot of these women will be in that category. And all of those services will be made available to the women. There's a community college very close by, Harbor Community College, which has a very robust veterans program. So that will be available for those that are desiring to get additional job-related skills and education. And then there's also a work source center just a couple blocks away that will make it easy for the women to access services there that are related to job training and job placement. We expect that some of the women will have their own vehicles, others will not. So part of the program is to have a van service available to take them to, for example, medical appointments at the Long Beach VA, which is quite close by, taking them out for shopping, whatever else they need to do to meet their needs, and also providing transportation for the children. So really the key thing now is to identify, to recruit, and as you might expect, Section 8 is a little bit of a labyrinthine process. So it can take a couple months, hopefully shorter, hopefully more like 4 to 6 weeks, but it can be up to 8 weeks to get them certified as eligible for the Section 8 project vouchers. So that will be a bit of a hurdle, but we have plenty of staff to kind of walk them through the process. The other thing that I think is important when people say San Pedro or think San Pedro, it sounds like it's hundreds of miles away, and it really isn't. It's 20 minutes from downtown Los Angeles, but still there may be a challenge for people when they hear that's where the housing and services are going to be located, that it sounds far afield. So we have a built-in system to pick up the women and their children and to drive them to the site so that they can see it firsthand and sort of demythologize that, this is in the way out in the boondocks, because it really isn't. And so that's part of our tactic and our strategy for the recruitment. So everything really focuses on that now, getting the widest outreach. And we particularly do not want to neglect National Guard and reservists who qualify based on their active duty service as veterans, and that is proving to be more of a challenge than we thought. And maybe I can get some helpful feedback later on in the call in terms of ideas to how to best access referrals for those women and their children who are in the reserves, in the National Guard, but not doing well economically, again, maybe suffering the effects of domestic violence, sexual trauma, or whatever other variant of PTSD they may be struggling with. So I look forward to questions and ideas later on in the call.
Well, Bob, thank you so much for joining us, and I appreciate giving some very candid feedback about the project, both what's been successful and then also looking for feedback from our callers. I think that's how we are going to make this the most successful project possible, is all kind of giving our input. So I would like to reserve some questions for Bob at the end of our call today, and at this time, turn it over to Christine Hess, and so she can complete her portion of this presentation, and then after she's finished, then we'll open it up for Q&A and feedback, which we can address some of Bob's needs for information about the Blue Butterflies project or asking Christine questions. So Christine, at this time, if you wouldn't mind unmuting your phone by pressing *6, and then you can begin, and then Bob, go ahead and mute your phone, and you can press *6 to do that. Thank you.
Good morning and Happy New Year to everyone. Thank you, Lindsay, for inviting me to have a couple minutes. I just wanted to kind of what the NVF, and I can't say just the NVF, but with the collaboration of a bunch of other agencies here in the area, what we've kind of done for the end of the year, and then what the NVF is looking forward for the future. So with the close of the year, we participated in the stand down for Los Angeles. And the latest numbers that I've heard is that they had almost 16 to 1,800 veterans that attended, and then a total of attendees, and that includes volunteers and children, spouses, and others, was about 4,000 for the weekend. It was, I think it was a really great event. I liked the venue, really open. It was nice to be inside. We still, as always, I think as time goes on, it'll get better. Not a lot of women participating, and then not a lot of services for the women. And I say that because they actually divided the venue. There was a side specifically for women, and then all others, and then the families had the center area. So it was really exciting to actually have that designated. In conjunction with that, the LA County's women's program that still runs the third Saturday of every month, that happened to be our weekend. So we did the program actually there. There was probably about 60 to 70 women that actually came for lunch and participated in the program. We had some kind of mindfulness yoga activity go on. And it's really great to see that many women in one place at one time. So that was really exciting for that. So, and again, I can't say enough about the county program and how enjoyable it is. And it's just consistently bringing around 50 women together every month. So to get that many women together all the time is really a great accomplishment for here. And every month we just have a different speaker and lunch and networking and activities. And I'm just really, really enjoying it. Also, we had, in partnership with vet hunters and about 4 or 5 other organizations, they called it Operation Winter Wonderland, which we took a in-and-out truck to Skid Row and with conjunction with the line guard and handed out clothes and hygiene items to the participants, and then everyone got a meal. So we fed just over 1,000 people. So that was pretty exciting, and that was on the 23rd of December. So that was really exciting, looking for something bigger and better for next year, but more to come with that. I wanted to also put out a compliment to VOA. The Battle Buddy program has just been really stellar in the community here. I'm finding them everywhere, and they travel in packs. But they're really doing what they're supposed to be doing, and that means here in the area they're connecting with veterans that need somebody just to walk with them or be their battle buddy. And I've seen it in action a couple times already, and I'm so happy that it's going on around here. And I know they're hiring women now to have a women program for the battle buddies, so I think that's really, really awesome, and I would like to thank VOA for that because we need it and it's working great. We talked a little bit about Almost Home, which is the privately funded transitional house in the San Gabriel Valley, which is east of Los Angeles. They've had some issues with their landlord, and they're resolving them, but they're going to move the program to another location. So all I can say is it was a really good decision, and more to follow where the new location is when they're up and running. So I think that's really going to turn out to be a great thing. And then where the NVF would like to be in 2015 is let me just recap. What the NVF does is we provide crisis information and referral via toll-free number to all veterans, all generations nationwide. So we get calls from all over the country, from they're turning my lights out in Tennessee to what's the number to the VA in Florida, to I'm having a really bad day, I just need somebody to talk to. And where we're really different is we're staffed by veterans. So when we call in and the people are a little upset, we're like, yeah, I understand. When I went to the VA, that happened, or I had this problem with my GI Bill. We understand. So we're able to be more effective in getting the right information to the people. So what we want to do is we just really want to become like a hub, especially here for California. So anybody that has information about their organization and their logo and what they would like us to share, like a link or what your programs are going on, if you wanted to just email it to me, I'm happy to put it up on our website. We're going to be, excuse me, I'm sorry, I have this nasty cold. We're going to be really updating our webpage to reflect services specifically here in California. And I would just love to have the most current resources and whatever you'd like to share, or when people look on our page, what you would like them to know. And I'm also really, really interested in finding agencies, well, specifically for women, outside of the norm, outside of, the mainstream, that offer the unique financial assistance, sometimes for like car repairs or storage issues. That's the thing around here. I can never find anyone to pay storage. And if you're in a transitional home and you have, if you have, everything you own is in a storage, and sometimes this could be the second time you've lost your storage, so it's like the second time you're losing everything. That's really important to have access to that kind of security, and, it just promotes their well-being. So I'm looking for agencies that offer that, and it's statewide. So even if you're not in Los Angeles, I'm really happy to put up any kind of information. I'm fortunate that I get to do a lot of outreach, so I get to go talk to a lot of different groups of students, either in a security class or in a college or however, but I'm still finding a lot of us don't know what resources are available. So, I'm still anxious to hand out information about your organization. I'm happy to take flyers with me. I'm happy to whatever you need to do, because I just spoke to about 25 younger veterans earlier in the week or last week. And, it's just I always ask, are you enrolled in the VA? Some of them still aren't. Do we know about calvets and the roster and the phone calls and the jobs and everything that's available through the website? And you still get over half the room that doesn't understand. And then we talk about local resources, EDDs and Department of Labor, just these websites that have great information for us, and they're not there. So I'm just still on a mission to promote resources. And one of the biggest things that the NVF is going to take on this year is we're going to step up in the employment world, the employment piece. And what we're going to do is we'll help individuals. We're going to make partnerships with the local EDDs and find the point of contact to say, call this specific person at this number versus just call over here, to get them into the job prep, area, part of their job search. And then if you have a veteran that's really struggling or wonders why or where their application is, we're going to take on the piece of calling the employer on behalf of the veteran, just to ensure that they got their resume, or if there's anything else that's missing. Because sometimes they're like, well, I don't know what happened, or I don't know whatever. And it's just one simple phone call that can, establish either they're not going to get hired or they need this document or that document. So we're going to take that piece on for 2015. And I know that was really fast, but I just wanted to close with if anyone has any suggestions, or they find something that they wish, I wish I knew where this was, or I wish I had this information, I'm happy to be a consolidation point for that and put it on our webpage. And so it's available to everyone, specifically here in California, and then, anybody nationwide. A lot of people are new into California, so they don't understand, or they're moving out of California, where we can provide the access to that information as well. So That's all I have. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Christine. It sounds like you're incredibly busy, as are, I'm sure, everybody on this call, because so many of our callers are not just veterans, but also advocates and service providers. So thank you for the great work you're doing. And yeah, we hopefully can get a chance to talk after this as well, because I think there's a lot that Calvet can start sharing with you in a larger in a larger way, so that as you're doing your outreach, we can get the message out about benefits and services, at least what the state's offering as well.
That would be awesome. Thank you so much.
And then one person also brought up to your comment about the storage site, people not paying for, or no organizations paying for storage units. I know that SSVF grantees, as one of our viewers mentioned, our participants mentioned, that SSVF does allow storage, and I know that it's done that for some people. So, and I know Volunteers of America, LA, has a grant and has provided storage services. Are you running into issues with that, or?
It's kind of hit or miss. I know PATH also does the storage. I know, I think VOA, and it's just hit or miss. Like, hey, it's kind of like who you talk to, or they're not qualified. So when I get that hiccup again, I'll reach out to somebody and ask the question.
Yeah, let's work that out. I know that obviously the SSVF grants are tied to some eligibility, so it can be a real barrier. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and unmute everybody, and then we can ask some questions. We are getting a lot of feedback, Bob, about the Blue Butterflies program, primarily your comment about starting to require women with 2 children. So I think people would like to hear some feedback about other potential people that may be eligible for the program. And what I would like to know that you can hopefully share is where people can find more information about the project and how they would apply for entry into the housing facilities and when that would happen. So I'm going to go ahead and unmute everybody. I guess we'll start with you, Bob, if you would like to potentially kind of talk about the project and maybe address the issue of eligibility. Okay, are people able to talk now? Did that unmute everybody? I'm not great at the software. Let's see. Okay, so everybody should be able to see now. So, Bob, do you want to start?
Yeah, I think we're getting a feedback here.
Okay, so let me go ahead and mute everybody again, and then Bob, I'll have you unmute your phone using *6, and then we'll just ask the questions via the chat window, I think. So let me do that again. Okay, Bob, if you want to do *6 then, to unmute yourself.
I did.
Okay, great.
Yeah, the preference for tenancy at Blue Butterfly is veterans. Because of fair housing, you can't stipulate male or female. So that's kind of the technical preference with the Section 8 funding. But obviously our prior preference is that it be head of household women with a child or with children. We did run into a LA housing practice that if it's a 2-bedroom unit, they want a minimum of 3 people per household. I think that can be waived if need be, but at this point in time, we haven't gone to the city to make that pitch, but but we shall, if and when needed. We're just kind of doing the early on feasibility now in terms of how many women out there that, fit that criterion that have at least 2 children that are, again, women veterans. Just to reiterate as well, we didn't want to have this be transitional housing with an artificial deadline, figuring that some of the women may need more time than others to get themselves and their family stabilized, both within the kind of the family nurturance context, but also economically to be able to move into permanent housing and be economically self-sufficient. So it is permanent housing. We expect that we'll have some women with their children for a potentially shorter period of time, could be maybe a year. Other women, because of their circumstances and situation, including what they're struggling with psychologically, it could be 5 years. So that's why we've opted to have it be permanent housing. And there may be other questions, but that's just kind of a quick once-over for what the population is going to be. If we're not able to identify a sufficient number of women veterans, which we think will be quite regrettable, which is why we're working very hard on getting the word out, and again, hoping to get feedback on this call, then there may be male veterans with their families, and it could be a male veteran head of household, but our preference is that this be a sanctuary for these women, and very much battle buddies, supporting one another with the unique circumstances that women veterans are facing. So that's a quick sketch, Lindsay.
Thank you for that. So, it sounds like the 2-child preference is going to be something that the city's kind of placing upon the project, and that's for the 2 or more bedrooms. That's
correct. And that's not a HUD rule. That's just a city practice, which is why we think we can get concessions if need be. And I would say probably the shortest distance between 2 points, if anybody on the call has anything that would be helpful for us in terms of the recruitment, ranging from a specific woman with children who might be eligible, who would like to be placed in this housing, to just more general referrals of where to go and who to talk to. I think probably just email me, and that's B. Pratt, Pratt, at V as in Victor, OALA.org. And I'll just field the questions, the input, the suggestions, etc., and make sure that the appropriate staff follow up. So I'd be happy to entertain all of that email communication regarding this.
Thank you. Yeah, I think based on some of the comments I'm seeing, and just in the experience that my office has had working with women who are in need of stable housing, I don't find as many women with 2 children. Typically it's single women or women maybe with 1 child, or actually women who are heads of household who are caring for adult dependents So spouses who are fairly incapacitated, perhaps siblings, perhaps other relatives. So I think the more creative and the more open we can get with accepting applicants, that's going to be the most successful for you in ensuring that it's women veterans that are, inhabiting this project.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's going to be really key. So another question we had was, do they need to have a VASH or Section 8, or do they get one with the application? So
it's project-based. So they actually receive that through us, and it's of the total 73 units, 50 are just regular Section 8 project-based, and 23 will be VASH. And the VASH will be we have a VASH contract, so those VASH vouchers will be provided directly from VOA, and but everybody's still got to go through HACLA, which is the Housing Authority of the City of LA. So whether they're VASH or Section 8, it's all the same. But it basically is project based, so it comes with the unit, and we take care of facilitating all the stuff that the women would have to go through to be certified.
So if someone already has VASH or Section 8, would that free up a voucher for the project, or would they?
If they already have one, we could probably utilize it. It would just reduce the number of project base that we would be utilizing initially. So if someone's already certified, either under regular Section 8 or VASH, they would be great candidates for moving in. And in that case, it would be sooner than later.
Okay. And can you give us a little bit about your timeline in terms of, you guys are looking at applicants now, correct?
Yeah, we're looking at applicants now. We've been looking at applicants since early December, working with a lot of organizations, also doing a lot of outreach through our Battle Buddy program that is progressively involving more and more women veterans. What we expect is that the soonest occupancy would be late February, owing to having to go through the Section 8/VASH process if a woman doesn't already have a Section 8 or VASH. And then we'll just proceed with rolling out occupancy through the subsequent months, but always with the focus on not getting the word out to male veterans, but focusing on the women veterans, because technically we can't deny occupancy to a male veteran with children. So it's just a matter of being circumspect and being careful to focus all of our attention in terms of our outreach on women, with women veteran organizations, and the like. So that's really what we're spending our time and energy on now. So late February, March, and then succeeding months, probably through the fall.
Okay. So then would you recommend that women with only one child also, or women who are single also apply?
Yeah, we can't, unfortunately, we can't accommodate single women. We'd like to, but the Section 8 is such that, for example, we could certainly accommodate physically 2 single women veterans in a unit, but Section 8 doesn't allow that. But yeah, basically, absolutely yes. any woman veteran with a child, we definitely want to factor that in as a potential resident of the facility. And again, we'll go back to the city, and politics are in our favor given the priority these days on the underserved women veterans with children. And part of what our tactic would be to go to the mayor's office, and certainly Mayor Garcetti has been a wonderful advocate for veterans. So we anticipate being able to get around that hurdle. So absolutely yes. A woman veteran with one child, absolutely we will want to consider her for residency.
And how about a woman with a caregiver, a disabled woman veteran, or a woman veteran with a caregiver or with an adult family member that she may be caring for?
Yeah, I don't think we would obviously have any exclusion of that. We do have 4 units for physical disability and 2 units for sensory disability. So that kind of a circumstance, we would want to have that referral and work it through our system. So I would consider that very appropriate.
Okay. And what's the best way for people to begin applying? Is it through contacting your email, or I know you've given me a few contacts for that.
Yeah, I think again the shortest distance between 2 points, because this is such a high priority, is just my email.
Okay.
And then we'll kind of take it from there in terms of what staff to get involved in a supportive and an outreach mode. But I think that's probably the most efficient. Just have it come directly to me, and I'll field it here.
Okay. And so then I would put to the group to make sure to share this. People are asking if there's a website for the project. I did share voala.org.
Yeah. Yep.
So that might give you some photos to look at, and you can see more about the location, etc. Let's see. So,
yeah, I just would stress this is such an unconventional site for homeless. It's just the complete antithesis of what, unfortunately, the facilities that often are made available. It is just an amazingly beautiful, idyllic place that I think when the women see it, they will be quite moved.
Good. That's excellent to hear. So, so for everybody on the call, be sure to email Bob if you have further questions about the project, or are looking for someone to apply or wanting to apply yourself. Then he can direct you to the right contacts within his own staff. And so we're coming up against the 11 o'clock hour, so I'd like to open it up for any questions that people have for Christine. One comment we did have on our chat window is that, Christine, is there a list of all the activities you're involved in, or the outreach that you're conducting, and the different hats you're wearing, so that people can kind of coordinate with you or learn more about the programs and services available? And *6 to unmute your phone.
Thanks for that. I'd have been talking to myself. I have a Facebook person called Veteran Navigator, and it posts pretty much everything that's going on and that I'm participating in. But if somebody is really interested in going on outreach or getting involved with somebody else, if you could just email me, and then I'll put you, I have specific distro lists about things that go on. So I have a list for women veterans that get everything that comes in. But if you just want to be involved in, like, if you go to Skid Row, I want to do this, or the county programs here, or just general information or employment, just email me and tell me what you're interested in, and I'll put you in that group, and you'll start getting information.
And Christine's email is Christine with a K calvet.ca.gov@nvf.org, and we're sharing that on our webinar as well. Great. So if anybody has a specific question and you want to ask Bob or Christine or myself, then go ahead and press *6 to unmute your phone. Hopefully we won't get too much reverberation, and then you can ask your question before we wrap this up. So it looks like we're not getting too many more questions. So again, you all have to, go ahead. No? Okay. So you have Bob and Christine's email on our webinar. It's Christine with a K @nvf.org. And for Bob, it's bpratt, P-R-A-T-T, @voala.org. So you can also visit their websites, nvf.org and voala.org. And then as Christine mentioned, on Facebook, her page name is Veteran Navigator. And you can also like her page from the Calvet Women's page, which is Calvet Women Veterans as well on Facebook. And then our email here at the department is womenveterans@calvet.ca.gov. So thank you all for those that participated, and hopefully this gave you some more information about what different organizations are doing in California. And I look forward to talking to you all on our next call, which will be at 10 a.m. on Monday, February 2nd. And we will, I'm not sure what our topic of choice is yet, but we'll put out that email about what we're going to discuss that day. And then this recorded phone call will be available via our website, which is calvet.ca.gov/womenvets. That'll be available on our website shortly as well. So if you need any more information from this call, you can pull up that recording. And so I think that is all we have for today. So thank you all again for joining us. Happy New Year, and please contact us if you have any questions or suggestions for topics. Thank you to Bob and Christine.
Thank you.